knock wasn't loud, just 3 steady taps that carried more authority than volume. Gregory Hale paused mid-pour, coffee steaming in his hand, Saturday sunlight spilling across the kitchen tile. He glanced through the peephole and felt his shoulders lock. 2 men in dark uniforms stood on his porch, badges, utility belts. The shorter one adjusted a radio that didn't crackle. The taller one stared straight at the door cam like he wanted it to blink first. "Mr. Hale, step outside," the tall one called, voice clipped, rehearsed. "We have a warrant related to HOA violations and resisting compliance." HOA? Warrant? Gregory slid the chain off, opened the door, but not all the way. "Which agency?" he asked. The short one lifted a paper with way too much white space and not nearly enough seal. "Don't make this difficult," the tall one said, thumb hooked where a body cam should have been. They had uniforms. They had confidence. But they had no idea who they were dealing with. An hour earlier, Gregory's day was quiet by design. He was a sunrise person. Black coffee, the sports page, and a slow walk along the fence line he built by permit and to code. The porch flag hung straight, no wind to argue with it. He kept his yard neat, his voice low, his weekends sacred. Neighbors waved. He waved back. He was the kind of homeowner who fixed things the same day they broke. He didn't boast about the past. He retired young, kept his medals in a drawer, and his discipline in plain sight. Organized tools, labeled bins, calendar reminders for everything. Peace wasn't an accident for Gregory. It was a habit. And habits make storms easier to read long before the thunder. Across the cul-de-sac lived Marla Cranston, HOA board president, self-appointed guardian of aesthetics, and sworn enemy of nuance. She patrolled in gym shoes and a clipboard, citing infractions that read more like opinions. Fence shade slightly off community beige. Truck temporarily visible. Flag light too bright at 2 a.m. She loved rules the way some people love music, rhythms of power, crescendos of control. When the board turned over last spring, Marla didn't step down. She stepped higher, installing friends on committees, whispering about enforcement like it was a sport. Everyone adjusted. Everyone except Gregory, who read the bylaws, paid his dues, and said 6 patient words that seemed to insult her deepest need. "Show me where it says that." First came the letters, printed in a font that tried to sound like a gavel. Notice of violation. Second notice. Final notice. The charges were smoke, the color temperature of his porch light, the reflectivity of his mailbox number, the temporary storage of a ladder laid flat for painting. Gregory replied with receipts and photos, circled clauses, dates, and signatures. He kept it calm. He kept it correct. Marla didn't want correct. She wanted surrender. Then came the public shaming. At the monthly meeting, folding chairs, lukewarm lemonade, Marla read Gregory's name like a sentence. "Non-compliant," she announced, tapping the stack of letters. Phones came out, eyes too. Gregory stood steady as a level. "Everything on my property is within code and covenant," he said, handing the treasurer a packet. Timestamps, permits, inspector notes. Murmurs shifted. Marla smiled tight, a hinge refusing to squeak. A week later, a flyer appeared on doors. "HOA will escalate enforcement." It sounded official. It smelled personal. And this morning, it knocked. On the porch, the tall officer stepped forward, heels squeaking on the welcome mat. "Mr. Hale, you're under arrest for contempt of an HOA order. Hands where I can see them." Gregory let the door open another inch, enough for the door cam to drink every detail. "Contempt is a court term," he said. "Which court?" "County," the short one snapped. He flashed the paper again. No judge's name, no seal, no case number aligned to any county format Gregory had ever seen. "Turn around," the tall one ordered, reaching. Gregory exhaled, slow, like he was blowing out a candle on a cake he didn't want. Then he spoke in a tone that folded the morning in half. "Officer, before you touch me, state your badge number and agency into that camera." Silence. The tall one's eyes flicked to the lens. The short one shifted his feet. Gregory stepped fully into the light. The calm dropped, replaced by something carved from decades of command. He drew a leather wallet not from his back pocket, but from a case on the foyer table set beside the flags he didn't brag about. He opened it. "Gregory Thomas Hale," he said, voice clear. "Chief of Police, retired. I know every badge in this county. Yours don't belong to it. The short one swallowed. The tall one's knuckles whitened. Here's what happens next, Gregory continued. You say your agency. You say your supervisor. Or I call in a false imprisonment attempt and impersonation of a peace officer. Both felonies. A car engine coughed down the block. Marla stood at the curb, phone up, recording like a director who already wrote the ending. Gregory raised his voice for the mic in the neighborhood. Marla, send that to the board. And the DA? Sirens arrived before panic could find a plan. Real officers stepped out. Real radios, real patches, real eyes that didn't dart from a door cam. Statements were taken. Badges were checked. The paper warrant deflated into ordinary printer paper. The two fakes stuttered about community enforcement, then about misunderstanding, then about lawyers that didn't answer. They went away in the back seat, not the front. Marla's video went further than the HOA newsletter. It went to the city, then the state investigator who hadn't visited this subdivision in years. Bylaws got audited. Elections got scheduled. The clipboard retired. Gregory reset his morning, fresh coffee, the sports page, a softer light over the flag. Before he sat, he looked into the lens one last time, speaking to anyone who'd ever been bullied by a rule used as a weapon. Know your rights. Know your records. Keep receipts. Calm wins faster than rage. He smiled, not smug, just certain. Some people wear power like a costume, he added, closing the door. But the truth fits like a uniform.